If you're sending money through Chase, especially in large amounts, you want to get it right the first time. In this video, I'll walk you through how to do a wire transfer using Chase Online Banking. I'll show you just not how to send it, but also things I kind of wish I knew before my first time, such as avoiding delays, dealing with Chase's verification system, and what to do if your wire ever gets stuck. These are some things that are very important and crucial to know, so make sure to watch the full video. And without wasting too much time, go ahead and search up Chase and go to their website. This will lead you here. So whether it's a personal account, a business account, or a commercial account, these two operate the same. So personal or business, this is primarily what this tutorial is for. So go ahead and sign in with your username and password. If you don't have access to this, then it's as simple as making a bank account. And if you already have a bank account but you don't have your login information, all you need to do is contact Chase. With that being said, I'm going to go ahead and go into my dashboard. So as you can see, I have a Chase for Business account, which is what I'll be using to demonstrate this tutorial. I blurred out a couple things, obviously for privacy reasons, but besides that, just know that this account works and this is the website. So after you've gone over here, make sure that you have two-factor authentication on because it will not work without it. And a pro tip, don't start this when you're on mobile data or spotty Wi-Fi, because if Chase doesn't verify your device properly, it might block your transfer, which will just waste your time. What you want to do here on this page, you go over to Pay and Transfer. So once you're on this page, you simply just go over to the wires and global transfers. So keep this in mind because there's two types. If you haven't done a wire transfer before, Chase might actually take 24 to 48 hours to even enable this feature. So go ahead and click this and enable it. Same thing with Zelle and same thing with some of these other options. They have to manually enable it for you. So keep that in mind. They might even call you or require in-app approval. So don't plan on doing this the same day if it's your first time ever. This critical part is important because what a recipient is basically the person you're sending it to, whether it's a person or entity. And by entity, I mean like another business. And you're going to need a bit of information. So just to make this simple, you're going to need their full name of the person you're sending it to, their bank name, their routing number, their bank address. This is more specific to international transfers. You're going to need their account number, and you're going to need to set them a nickname. So I'll show you what that looks like right here. So if I go ahead and hit add recipient, as you can see, it asks for their phone number, or it asks for your phone number actually, to verify that it's you. And then it'll give you all those options that I previously mentioned. This applies to whether it's a personal or business account. By the way, Chase is very strict about matching the account name to the receiving bank. A small mismatch, such as John as Jon instead of full Jonathan, might flag your transfer by their automatic system. So that's very important. A second tip that I can give you for this process is if you're unsure about the routing number, use the Federal Reserve's directory or call the recipient's bank directly. Because Chase will not validate it, they'll just send it, which means your money could be sent to absolutely nothing. So for example, this is what that looks like. Directory. So you can use that. What you can also do is just kind of go into here and just ask for Chase's routing number, as it's kind of similar, but just make sure that you have your state in there just in case. So I like to put Chase's routing number, New York. As you can see, there are two locations, one for upstate and one for in the city. And so this is probably the one I'd use. And so this way you can make sure you're getting it 100% right. But if the recipient has received wires before, they can also just tell you. After this is all done, what you're going to want to do is hit schedule wire. And here you have to keep in mind there are two options depending on who it is you're sending it to. So if you're in the US and you're sending it to someone in the US, you use the domestic one. If you're in the US and you're sending it to someone foreign, you use the international one. And if you're not in the US and you're sending it to someone in the US or any other country besides your own, you're probably going to want to do the international one. So that's very important. But for this tutorial, as I'm from the US, I'm going to be using the US one. So here, as you can see, there's some options or like details and information. So this is what I was talking about a little earlier, where it says what you have to have ready. The person's full name or the business name, accounting and routing numbers, recipient's address, and mobile device verification. Delivery times is usually 1 business day. In my own personal experience, sometimes it takes 1 to 2 days. So keep that in mind. And if it's international, it could take 2 to 5 days. So that's the difference. Daily limit is 50,000, but you can send more. You just have to get approved for it. And that's simply by either calling them or going into your local Chase branch. It'll tell you the fees at the end as well. It'll just calculate everything for you, nice, neat, and organized. So added to this stuff that they already mentioned, what you're going to need is obviously the amount that you're going to do, the currency if you're doing international, as there might be fees if you're trying to transfer the money, and it'll change it up because if I'm changing or if I'm trying to transfer USD dollars to like, let's say pesos, it's going to transfer it. You can also add an optional memo, but after all that's done, you can just go ahead and hit next. If you're sending internationally though, so this is only for the people sending internationally, some countries require purpose of payment codes, also known as IBANs. So if you're unsure what that is, honestly, you can just think of it as a international account number, which specifies their bank account. Chase might not prompt you for these, but your wire could get delayed or rejected without them. So honestly, I just add it in there. Use a memo wisely, especially if you're paying an invoice or for a business. Many businesses use that field to match incoming wires. Then the last thing you want to do is just go to the summary screen and hit submit. After that's done, what's going to happen is two things. One, they're going to send you a little text message on your phone. Obviously, since I'm on computer, I can't really show you that. But you usually get a 6-digit code. You just put in the code and verify your phone. If your phone is off, your transfer gets blocked. So make sure that thing has charge. You literally cannot send wires without this. Then the second, which is more of an optional thing, you can save the recipient that you put in case it's for future transactions and other things like that. There are also cutoff times, super important. So if you're on domestic, the cutoff time is 4 p.m. Do not be sending money past this time. International is 3:30. So a 30-minute difference. I don't know why. I don't control it. But this is using Eastern Standard Times, okay? So EST. Convert it if need be. Do not send it before the cutoff. Think about a job. Think about you working at your job. You don't really want to work past your work hours. So, your wire is going to be put into pending, essentially, until the next business day. And I would just avoid this altogether. So what if you're on a weekend or a holiday? Wires will not move. Chase will accept it, but nothing happens until the next business day. Very important. Now for fees, as fees are very important for anything basically online that you have to pay for. For domestic online, it's usually about $25 flat fee. If it's outgoing onto a branch, it's usually $35. International is obviously more pricey. It ranges sometimes, which is kind of weird. So I send money a lot of times to Asia, and so usually I get $40 or $50 fees. And if you have an incoming wire, like to you, you also have to pay a $15 fee. Chase's private client or Sapphire banking, they could waive these fees. So if you do have that, look into if these are covered. But for me, I don't really have that, so these aren't covered for me. Then the last bit of advice I can give you is security. Never wire to someone that isn't verified, because why wouldn't they be? Chase won't stop or reverse a wire unless it hasn't been processed. So if it's been processed, you're kind of cooked on that regard. You can't cancel a wire once it's set. There's no undo button, so use this very wisely. And this is why I'm talking about the security behind this all. So what does happen if it gets delayed? Then it's pretty straightforward. What you're going to want to do is go to wire activity, and that, I believe it's here. Let me just double check. Boom, boom, boom. Yeah. So your wire activity is all here. And this is where you can see both your normal wires and your repeated wires. If you have yearly wires or monthly wires that you have to constantly reoccur. And so it's probably going to be here. And if you don't see it here, it's probably not the right account. But what you can do is call Chase Wire Support. They're not the same as your general customer support. But the way I like to operate it, because it is a bit of a hassle to find it, you could find it up here, or you can just call normal Chase support, tell them your issue, and they'll then transfer you to the section within their business that handles that sort of stuff. Sometimes your transfer will be held for fraud review as well without even notice. So only really call them if it's urgent. But if you could see it here, you can fix it within here. And some tips as someone who's wired before, not with this account, but a lot more on my personal account. Reoccurring transfers, you can't set reoccurring transfers through the app. So you're going to have to call them and see if they offer that for you. Currency conversion, it usually just does it automatically and it uses their own exchange rate, which is slightly worse than the normal market. So it's a little bit higher. Considering options like Wise or Revolut, those are probably better for international. I'm going to be honest with you guys. Confirmation receipts, Chase gives you a confirmation number. Screenshot this because if anything goes wrong, you have proof. Chase business accounts also often have higher daily limits. So don't worry if mine says I can do 50,000. Just keep that in mind. And anytime you need to increase that limit, you can just simply call them. Also, you need a recipient tax ID for some types of business wires. That's just for tax purposes for both ends of the business. And the mobile app version, it supports wire transfers, but I recommend doing it always on PC. It's a little clunkier and only use it if you're very confident or have done it multiple times already. So just to recap really quickly, make sure you have wire privileges turned on, double check your recipient's data, right? Because you don't want to be sending it to nothing. Beware of the cutoff times, 4 p.m. for EST. You can convert that, just Google it. And then save those recipients to make it easier. Wire transfers are very powerful and there's no room for error. So if this helped you out, consider dropping a like and subscribe, especially if Chase ever delayed or flagged your transfer. I'm happy to troubleshoot or update this video with some new information if you guys want. I hope this helped and have a good one.